So today we're interacting with increasing numbers of large-scale technological systems. So for example, the internet, mobile phone communication systems, transport systems where perhaps you need a smart card to swipe in and out. And our interactions with these systems are generating large, unprecedented amounts of data on collective human behavior. So a key aim of FuturICT is to look at how we can exploit this data to get new insight into how human society works today.
FuturICT, or FuturICT, is a big science project focused on understanding the complex interactions between data points that we can collect from the economy, from science, from business, from our daily interactions. We have a tremendous amount of data, but we don't have a good insight into how it all works or is connected.
FuturICT is about trying to create a superior knowledge position for those people who have to take decisions in public policy with respect to big challenges in society.
FuturICT is a scientific project meant to come up with an integration of different scientific disciplinary areas, namely complexity science, the science of complex systems, social sciences, and ICT.
Our world has changed dramatically. Now we have a global exchange of people, of goods, of ideas and money, but we don't have the global system science to understand this complex world that we have created.
It's like many years we've been looking at a clock and we understand perfectly how the hands move. But this is like turning the clock round and looking at the mechanism that makes those hands turn around. And then we'll have a much better understanding of what's going on. And FuturICT, I think, will help us to get a better handle on that.
Governments and big business in particular to begin with, because we'll be able to utilize our policy wind tunnel to allow them to explore different scenarios. But eventually, in the medium term, other businesses will be able to use the FuturICT platform to try and develop their tools and technologies to interact with it. And finally, the long-term goal is to bring things down so that the individual can interact with it as well. So eventually, we all will.
If we do it right, lots of people. Firstly, let's just imagine that we manage to get a better understanding of the economy and a little more understanding of why it's so volatile. And we could even diminish that a little bit. A tiny improvement in that direction would benefit everybody enormously. The cost of FuturICT in comparison with that would be negligible.
FuturICT will deliver better and more democratic access to data, to models, to simulation, to visualizations. It's designed that all facets of society will benefit and not just a tool for the rich or large corporations.
No one will be worse off as a result of this project, and everyone will benefit. Society at large will benefit of this project, because it's the big challenge to really make headway and improve our chances of solving the immense problems that we're facing in the 21st century.
The key scientific challenge for FuturICT is to understand how the complex interactions between these various different areas actually work, to see are there any rules that we can discern that can help society or business make better decisions.
It's not enough just to collect data in huge quantities and then dump it somewhere. We actually have to know how to organize that data and look at it. And secondly, once we have it, we want to make models which will help us use it to understand better what's going on. And I think central banks are really worried about how to stabilize the system, how to make it less volatile. And they're studying, for example, financial networks. So the policymakers want models, want explanations, the sort of things, the sort of data and the sort of explanations that FuturICT can give.
Strongly coupled systems often feature cascading effects that can lead to extreme events. So if you want to change this and understand it in the first place, then we need to change our perspective from a component-oriented view to an interaction-oriented view.
So one of the key scientific challenges that FuturICT will have will be to look at how we can bring these different types of models together so that we can understand how conflict can lead to economic problems can lead to environmental problems, and we can have a global scale integrated understanding.
I think it is to integrate different scientific frameworks, conceptual frameworks, disciplines like IT and social science and complexity science. And that hasn't been done before.
In a word, data. Absolutely, big data. It's quite clear now that there are new sources of data becoming available, and it's the big issue for me as a modeler is that how to incorporate that data into models to validate these bigger models. So it gives me fantastic opportunities.
That is curiosity, intellectual, scientific curiosity.
Well, ever since I started in theoretical economics, I've been frustrated by this curious division between microeconomics, looking at individuals in isolation, and macroeconomics, looking at the broad movements. And somehow it's all the stuff that's in between that's important, the networks that link people.
I'm absolutely fascinated by all of this data that's being generated and the potential it offers to get a new understanding of collective human behavior. It's an opportunity for experimentation on such a large scale that we just didn't have before.
IT is shaping the future. It's always construed as a technology that is a merely enabling technology. The bigger picture is that it's really shaping, it's constituting our future societies. And therefore, we need to think about our public values, how we can make democracy happen online, how we can realize transparency and guarantee privacy.
We cannot really understand the main mechanisms that are responsible for the problems, the events and the processes we are dealing with if we do not take a generative approach. In other words, agent-based modeling allows us to grow up the phenomena that we want to explain on the computer and visualize not only the effect, but the process that leads to those effects. This is absolutely fundamental. No data, only data-driven, nor only theory-driven, nor inductive, nor deductive methods can do alone on their own the work, the job.
But if you are looking at these people, if you're talking to them, if you are asking them questions, something fundamentally has changed. What has changed? These people are linked. And we cannot go on in normal social science business as if these data out there would not exist. And these people are not only linked, they communicate in networks.
We're living in an information age, but the question is, what does it really mean? It means that we have created the most complex artifact ever. The global information communication system is composed of billions of components that are interacting. Computers, smartphones, factories, cars, maybe even your refrigerator. Many of those components learn to take autonomous decisions. They create a picture of the surrounding world. They make predictions into the future, and they're communicating with each other. These are more and more getting artificial social systems.
What did Trichet suggest? Well, he said, in the face of the crisis, we felt abandoned by conventional tools, but the lesson is that we should not be sticking to one model. And what his point was, we should be trying to get inspiration from other fields, physics, engineering, psychology, biology, and so forth. Bringing experts from these fields together with economists and central bankers is potentially very valuable. And if the governor of the European Central Bank is telling you that, then I think we have at least to listen.
So what we see in today's world is a huge and growing need for social science knowledge. We are in a time of permanent crisis with respect to many issues, such as pollution, global warming, energy resources, conflict, economy, and the rate of consumption is not sustainable. And what's most important, that in such a complex world, consequences of decisions are difficult to predict. And as an example, I mean, there's this very good intention to look for renewable energy sources. It resulted in food being being converted to ethanol, which resulted in hunger areas in some poor countries. This was totally unintended consequence of a good intention.
A good example, I think, of the inert nature of cities is the fact that if you look at the City of London, the financial quarter, it's been rebuilt about 3 or 4 times since the Second World War. The street system is still as it was in 1666, after the Great Fire, perhaps even before then, and everything has been built in situ. The buildings are different. They're in the same place. It looks the same in this context, but everything's different. There were 50,000 manufacturing jobs in the City of London at the end of the war. I don't think there's 50,000 manufacturing jobs left in Britain, actually, at the present time. But nevertheless, this shows the nature of the change.
When I heard first about FuturICT, I was very, very skeptical. I'm a computer scientist, I'm an engineer, and I think every computer scientist and engineer was extremely skeptical. And as I talked to social scientists, to complexity scientists, and also to colleagues in computer scientists, I became more and more a believer. And it's not only me, it's hundreds of supporters from my community who became believers. And we don't only believe in this project, we believe that a project like FuturICT is absolutely critical to do very good computer science today. And not only for us individually, but in Switzerland, in Europe, and the world.
FuturICT is a platform and an environment in which we can think of new ways to protect our privacy. We need to do that on a massive scale, and we need a focused attention and research effort to do that. Ethics and public values have always been looked upon as impediments or obstacles to innovation. I think that if you take them seriously, they can be drivers of innovation, and that's exactly the main thought of FuturICT.
I believe this project will be done because it's needed.